One man has risen above every other class. My boy Ironeye. This guy is, put simply, fucking ridiculous. This run is no relics, so you can make everything in this video a lot stronger. That said, I'm going to be breaking down the decisions I make and some of the strategies I use in this run, so it's my hope that you find at least some of that useful. So as I'm gliding in, I'm always scouting for the nearest field boss, which I can clearly see is an ulcerated tree spirit because its fat ass broke a tree and I can see its tail. That really isn't ideal because that boss is fairly highly scaling, so now there's only like 2 places I'm thinking that we can play aggressive to. This is mostly due to the fact that we don't have any relics, which means I don't start with a stone sword key. So my current thought process is, based on our location, we can either rush Volcano, which can also be highly scaling, or we can run all the way to mid castle, which might take a while. If you're thinking I should hit a camp, I generally don't, just because I don't think they're worth the time, and we're not really chasing a specific element because we're fighting Adel. That may have been a lot of information to throw at you, but it's essentially my thought process as we land. This chest gives me some pretty good loot, as well as 2 physics, while Buster over here tries to scrap, but I make my decision to rush Volcano at the start of this match. This may honestly sound a lot scarier than it really is, because there's actually a lot of low scaling bosses in this area. Like in the top right you have the dragon, in the top middle you have the demi-human queen, and then on the left you have the red wolf, or as I like to call him, the red fox. Honestly, that's kind of one of the things that I want to emphasize when playing Ironeye. You really shouldn't be that scared of these bosses. Ironeye has the ability to just make a bunch of distance and not sacrifice any damage for it. What I'm essentially saying is that most bosses in this game can simply be outranged, making their attacks against you useless while you damage them unhindered. Ironeye obviously is especially good at this. So off the bat from this loot, we get a hornbow that's enchanted with magic, which is actually really good because if you didn't know, Adel is weak to magic. So with our main weapon potentially secured and it being a higher rarity, I'm now more prepared to go into the volcano. But holy shit, watch out for this lava, man, it does so much damage. So right now I'm kind of thinking that I can just kill all the fire prelates that are on the way down to the volcano. If you're wondering if clearing volcano on day 1 is like shitty pathing, you're probably right. I was a little worried about this. It would make more sense to clear bosses away from the volcano since zone always pulls there and you know you're gonna have to come back. But honestly, there's probably enough to do that it doesn't really matter, it's just something to consider. I finally remember to show my relics, so here they are. So somehow I get a legendary weapon, which is really interesting because it's the Lion Greatbow. So normally you might want to take this, right? But 1, it's legendary and I'm only level 3, so I'm not going to be able to use it for at least half the match. 2, it has a really good passive, but at the end of the day it's a great bow and they're just overall worse than regular bows and short bows in my opinion. Great bows deal out really good damage, but their sluggish nature makes it extremely hard to get value out of them within the combat flow, as well as overall just reducing their DPS. So I end up taking the improved flask restoration because if I'm going to be honest, when I get to level 10, I'm probably just not going to be using the great bow over the regular bow that I even have now. This loot is nothing special, but I'll just take the increased max HP. Obviously I can't kill these guys because zones started closing, but I can do some damage to them. Whatever damage I do to them now, which is never going to reset, so it always helps me in the long run. Okay, fuck it. Let's just fight falling stubbies, which you might normally not want to attempt, but I'm a lot more comfortable because I don't really have to worry about actual dodge timings or knowing the moveset, given that I just have this insane skill. I also want to talk about the heavy attacks on Ironeye. I'm assuming you know that they're basically a shotgun firing 3 arrows at once. If you hit all 3 arrows on a target, it's a much higher DPS than single shot firing, but the drawback is that it's slower and also a lot harder to hit all 3 arrows on smaller targets. The reason I bring this up, of course, is because Falling Star Beast has a bigger body, so I can use the heavy attacks from a longer range and still connect all 3 arrows, doing more damage. If you're about to ask why I still use the single shot at all in this fight, well, that's because it's a lot quicker, so in theory it's safer. You'll see me use it when I don't have time to get a full heavy attack off, or I want to keep myself moving. Immediately we can see that there's 2 weapons I just wouldn't use. One's a colossal weapon, one's a great hammer. So we're kind of only thinking about the passives there. Normally 10% more runes is tempting, and if I had gotten it sooner, maybe I'd take it, but with my current level, I think I'd just rather have the attack up when wielding 2 weapons. Since the circle is kind of close and this boss is just on the way, I figure that we should just try and do as much damage as we can. Again, even if I don't kill it, all the damage never resets, so it's always worth it in the long run. Alright, my bad. Oh, Duke's Dear Freya. Okay. I'm Australian and even I don't fuck with this fight. Actually, it turns out Ironeye really isn't too bad for this fight. Well, especially right now where I can just sit here and blast her in the face with heavy attacks. These are maybe some of the worst passives I've ever seen for Ironeye. I think I'm just gonna go mid-castle, because I can fight the Draconic Tree Sentinel and finish him off on the way back to Volcano. So I'll end up doing that later and do mid-castle now. Oh, I forgot it was Royal Revenant, dude. I'm so bad at fighting Royal Revenant. Especially on Ironeye, like, Revenants just close distance in about 0.5 of a second, so it's a pretty shit matchup for Ironeye. Yeah, I don't know how to fight them. But from here we get a black bow or an Erdtree bow. It's kind of an interesting choice because they're both pretty decent options. But I go the Erdtree bow purely because it does holy damage, and maybe now if I find a Deathrite bird, I'll just shred it. Now since we have Troll's Castle, here's what I usually do. Each troll drops minor boss loot, so like passives or a weapon of some kind. And so you kind of do want to kill like at least 1 or 2 of them, but you can kill all 4 if you want to. And so I usually go for these 2 on the edge, because the troll that throws pots at this one is actually too far away to land them. It means that you're relatively unbothered when fighting this guy, apart from the small soldiers that are around the place. The other one that I usually kill is to the west of this one, because when you kill this one, nobody can throw pots at him. It's kind of preference if you want to go further than that and kill the 2 on the other side, but after this I usually just go to the top. That said, I actually do skip this one this run, probably because I thought I was running out of time to do Crater, and I do this cool skip that I didn't show in my last video, where you basically walk at this pole and spam jump. I actually scuff it a little, and it's supposed to look a lot cleaner than that, but it's pretty neat, and it's a lot quicker than running up manually. Again, this is kind of interesting because in theory, this is a pretty decent weapons drop, but like we aren't going to use any of the passives on these weapons or the weapons themselves. So I mean, I actually just don't end up taking anything here, but it's okay because we finally reached level 14 and we can go get level 15 once we go finish that Draconic Tree Sentinel we started earlier. So now that we've done most everything else outside of Crater, we can now clear our way towards the Magma Worm and get our legendary weapon. There's honestly not that much to commentate here since we're just running through Crater to get to the bottom, but there is this little skip where you jump off slightly early that saves maybe 10 seconds, I'm probably not even. I'm aware that there's other skips you can do to do with taking the birds at the spectral trees, but I've actually never done them, so I didn't do them on this run. The good thing about the Ironeye matchup against Magma Worm is that I don't really care that he's charging, I can still shoot him either way. Again, the strongest suit of Ironeye is that you get so many more punish windows and as a result, much more consistent damage. Usually you would have to wait this out or use an ult to interrupt him, but because I'm playing Ironeye, I can just shoot him. Again, we get nothing here that's really applicable to us. This run is actually turning out to be pretty awful loot-wise. Also, you can see me pause here for a second because what I'm actually doing is checking the resistances of Adel. As I said at the start of the video, I know that he's weak to Holy and Magic, but I don't actually know if one is better than the other, so I'm just checking that really quick. As it turns out, they're completely even, so I end up upgrading the Hornbow purely because it has the Enchanted Shot Ash of War, which is actually a little more useful than most bow Ash of Wars. So the zone isn't actually fully closed yet, but there's not that much left for me to do at the moment. In hindsight, I actually probably could have gone and killed the Red Fox here, but I mean, I'm level 15 and it would have only dropped minor boss loot, so like, it really doesn't even matter. Ancient Dragons are usually pretty tanky, but we should just blast through this guy. Because we're playing Ironeye, we're enabled to just shoot directly at his head, which takes more damage than the rest of his body. It's a good thing because other classes can't really do this, as they're stuck fighting his legs and don't really have ample opportunity to hit the head. Because we're playing in front of him, he also doesn't really have that many opportunities to actually attack us, as he's too busy walking forward. But I mean, surely Ironeye's a balanced class, right? Surely. So you can see me kind of spamming triangle to try and get into the spirit shelter, and it's not spawning. And you also see me kind of realize this only means one thing. We're getting a second boss. You can kind of see the fact that I want to kill the Crucible Knight before going after the Hippo, but he's really just not going to let me as he just keeps his shield up. So I make the decision to just switch over to the Hippo and just kill him before I attack the Crucible Knight again. And we get periodical giant glint blades, which is actually really strong. If you don't know, these are basically just passive glint blades that keep spawning around you, and they do insane stance damage, as well as a decent amount of just straight damage. So to preface, this is about my second time fighting the Everdark Adel solo. I have fought him a few times in trios, and I am pretty comfortable with the base Adel as well, but I really didn't expect to come in here and just straight up no-hit the fight. This probably wasn't the best decision to ult him here, as I don't get to take any punishes of the stagger it gives, but it's really fine. So yeah, overall, pretty decent run, considering we had no relics and probably the shittest loot I've ever seen. But it goes to show how much you can do if you know how to play Ironeye well, and just how strong he is in general. I think you can make this character a lot fucking stronger if you have relics equipped. For instance, his +1 character ability is absolutely insane, and same with his extended mark duration. So if you did enjoy the video, or you hated it but learned something, then consider supporting me.